Right then, another video on the Amarok. So if you watch the last videos, you see we had a bit of trouble with the particulate filter, giving us a bit of hassle, but it's expected with what we're doing with it, so we're not going to get too worried about it just yet. And I'm pretty sure the customer wants it back with the DPF in, so we're not going to wait until we've melted middle out on it to do this testing. So obviously a bit of consumer advice really, especially for people in countries that you can do this without causing yourself any problems. But basically, you can't really see it very good, but this is the particulate filter. So there's a primary cat, a particulate filter, and then a secondary oxidation cat that's got AdBlue squirting in it as well. So when we get it up in air, we'll have a look at them. But basically, what we're going to do with that is replace it with these parts, so it looks quite elaborate. And this, for the people that have got decent eyesight, is a used one. This one that we put on a car a few months back just for doing some testing. But this is not the last time that this is going to be on and off, so we'll just use that for testing. We ended up sending the other parts that we used on that car out to somebody else who didn't want to get rid of the DPF, but they were happy to get rid of the secondary bits. So anyway, we'll get it up in air, and then you'll be able to see actually what's underneath, because you can't really see out from top. And then we'll try and get a bit of video of Owen ripping it off, and then we'll get it on the dyno and see if it makes any difference. So we're underneath now. You can see there's quite a bit going on here. Obviously it all looks absolutely brand new. For some reason there's an extra exhaust hanging here. I'm not sure what models have got an exhaust that comes over this side. I don't think there's any room for it to go down that side, but anyway. So you still can't really see any of the DPF up there. I don't know if Danny can get in and get a better angle, but quite tight to work on. But what this is the AdBlue nozzle. So these have all got all sort of security stuff around them, so you can't really disconnect the wiring and stuff like that to them. So I'm not sure what we're doing with that just yet. We've got the boss on the pipes. I think we just literally put it back in and we disable it in software. So anyway, we'll sort that out. So this is a secondary cat, this is a NOx cat, and that's what the AdBlue squirting in at. That gets rid of all the harmful stuff that the reduction of CO2 causes. So then this is just, I think it's just a little resonator, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's got something else going on in there. I'm pretty sure Rob and Danny will clarify before this video goes live, because I've not seen one of these in bits. But then basically our parts are going to replace all the way up to this slip joint here. That's going to go all the way up to the turbo. And then we have got an exhaust to go on this at some point. I think what we might do, put this pipe on, see the difference in noise, and then we'll put the exhaust on and see the difference in the noise. But it's all going to be going back to standard at some point again anyway, so it's not really important at this moment in time. The big test is just what the DPF does. So we'll leave Owen to it now, because he's been delayed plenty while we've been messing about. So let him get on with it and we'll go from there. Owen's managed to get all the old stuff off, and we'll have a look at the new stuff in a minute. So I got my stuff mixed up. This is a cat. Anyway, I should have known because we were measuring pressure around this anyway, but we'll clarify that at the beginning as well so we're not confusing anybody. But anyway, so there's a couple of sensors that we need to put into this later one, because when we've gone onto our parts system, they've not actually had the anything for this van because it's so this truck, 'cause it's so new. But anyway, so we're missing a couple of bosses that we need to put on, and I do want to put, well, I potentially want to put the pressure sensor bosses on because they do cause people some problems, but it is quite hard usually to make these fit, because look, we'd have to run a pipe all the way from there all the way to the right up the top here. So in my opinion, on my own cars, I'd just delete every sensor if I'm getting rid of it, but some people struggle with them sensors when they try to delete them in software, so it's sometimes better just to leave them. But with the pressure sensor, you can just leave it plugged in and the pipes don't need to be connected. You could just disconnect them here and just leave them to atmosphere and it's not be a problem. But these EGT sensors, they're going to cause people some trouble. You can just plug them in and tie them up, but on something as new as this, you probably just want them to be how they should be. But anyway, so that's the first cat gone. We've also got a temperature going in before there, and we've got a lambda sensor going in before there. Then we've got another lambda sensor, another temperature sensor, and then we've got the pressure sensor, which that's that one that screws on there. That goes up to that sensor. So then I'll flip it around so it makes more sense. So then that goes to that, which then you've not got any more temperature or anything before that, but you have got your AdBlue. So if you look inside there, that squirts onto all this rubbish in there. That's sort of just giving it a bit more surface area to do its thing. So this is like sort of, I always thought the AdBlue had to squirt into a cat, but they must be having some sort of bits and pieces going on in here. I've not split one of these ones exactly apart and had a look inside them, because this, like I say, it's a brand new one, and it is a bit different to the other ones. But anyway, so then this is a particulate filter, which we'll look at what one of them looks like in a second inside. But then you've got another temperature sensor, another lambda sensor, and then this is what's thrown us a little bit on this one. That's another lambda sensor, and you can see how all this stuff gets, because you can see it's got like an extra shielding around it and some sort of probably stuff that I probably don't want to keep touching because it looks like it probably give me splinters. But it's got some another sensor here, which is a bigger thread than we've ever had to fit on any of these. So I'm assuming that's something to do with the AdBlue. So if we look at how many sensors are on this, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5, but this don't count that one. 6, 7, 8. Plus you've got, oh, you crack one in, so you've got 9, and if you count both of them, that's 10 entries. So 8 sensors, 10 openings on these pieces, which is just absolutely ridiculous. When these are 10 years old, and each one of these sensors is well over 100 quid a piece, they're going to be very expensive to maintain. But anyway, so then this second bit, that's just literally a resonator, I believe. I'll have Rob confirm if I'm wrong or not. So then, if you want to look what's actually inside a DPF, we might separate this out into another video as well. But literally, this is like the sort of honeycomb, and this has got all sort of precious metals and weird stuff, and that's why they're worth some money. But you've got all this, and this literally adds surface area inside the particulate filter for all the soot to get caught in. So like at the minute you can see through that. I don't know if you can on camera, but when they're blocked up, all these are just completely covered. But the idea is it catches the soot, and then when it goes into a regeneration phase, which means it gets really hot, it burns it all away. And then this is part inside a cat. So this is the sort of top bit, This is like out of a one-piece DPF cat sort of thing, so not a two-piece like this one. So it's all been smashed out. There's some precious metal hiding in there somewhere, but anyway, keep that sealed up so nobody gets inside them. So we'll get ramp up and we'll have a look what it looks like underneath. So from underneath, you can see where we've got our joint. We've got a V-band arrangement on that instead, and our flexi is a little bit lower down because there's not a lot of room up there to get the flexi in. Obviously you can see the AdBlue Boss is here, so close to everything, it's unbelievable, but that's there. Then as you work your way down, you've got all your sensor. Now we've had to just tie this one up because this sensor boss is different on these later ones. It needs a M22, so we're gonna have to, when we take this back off again, we'll chop that off and put the right one on there and put that sensor back in. I might just leave it off, I don't know, see what happens. It's probably not gonna end up staying off anyway. So, and then that just connects into the standard system, which has got, because this has obviously got that resonator and the DPF in, it's only got one big silencer, and that leads down to what is not half your exhaust fell off. This is the factory tailpipe. So I think on this car we're going to be putting a twin exit system on, so we're going to probably have to ditch the spare wheel. But we get quite a lot of people asking for a twin exit system, and it does mean you have to compromise a little bit. But we'll figure that out later on. So we'll drop it down, we'll get it off ramp, and then we'll. I don't think we're going to do it today because it's absolutely terrible weather. I don't want to get it all scruffy underneath. But we'll see how much difference it sounds, and then we'll get it on dyno and see what we can do. So we managed to get it on the dyno after Owen's fitted the DPF pipe. So basically we just wanted to run it up and see what difference it made. Obviously we can't use this on road. Everybody's always going to bang about in comments, what can you do for an MOT, what can you do with this, what you can do with that. If in your country it's illegal to remove any of the emissions equipment, which it is in quite a lot of countries now, it's an MOT fail. Whether you get through there by slipping them 20 quid or just hoping that they ignore it or hoping they don't see it, that still doesn't mean it's legal. It means you've got an MOT, and at any point you can get yourself in a bit of trouble. I think there's a lot of horror stories out there about it, but that's a legal bit. Please don't fill the comment section through, what about MOT time, what about MOT time? This pipe's not staying on this car. But anyway, this is what difference it's made. So if you look at the green lines, so the 303, that's what it did with the DPF when it was just freshly regened and doing about 600 millibar of back pressure, I believe. And then the red lines are what it's just done now with the DPF gone, and it's doing about 150 millibar of back pressure. So that's how much back pressure the exhaust got. So you can see, I'd have thought we'd have gained more at the top end, but we've not. It seems to just be doing similar, couple of horsepower deviation here and there. But it's the torque where we've gained it, probably 25-30 foot-pound all the way to sort of 2800 RPM, which is not where I expected to see it. It makes sense that it has made more torque, but I expect it to just be all higher everywhere. But it's made a decent difference. EGTs have only dropped about 10 or 15 degrees, which is not a lot, but that's only on the dyno. If we'd run it until it were heat soaked to death, maybe it'd make a bigger difference. Maybe if everything else were hotter, because it'd definitely be getting rid of the exhaust gas a lot quicker. But again, it's a fairly new DPF, even though it keeps getting a little bit blocked up. But we're not quite sure if it's actually regenning when it should be regenning, because it's only done so low mileage. So, but we'll figure that out later on. So I think this video might be a little bit of a boring end if we don't do something a bit more practical. So I'll put the fans on. And I'm hoping when the weather's better, because again, it's terrible weather, I'm hoping that we can get out in our yard and maybe do a little launch or something like that. So I think it sounds fairly nice. So we're going to get this off anyway. We've got to get our golf race car on here. We'll get this off and we'll sort out what we're going to do for the next video. We've got quite a few different options we can go down at the minute, all dictated by certain different things. So anyway, so after the last part of the video where we're in the dyno, I had a little bit of time off, and it seemed to make more sense to get this in and take the old exhaust off. So as you can see, we've got the four square tips here now. These tips are some, I won't say cheap ones because they weren't very cheap, but these are not the ones that we'd have if we could. But really good ones are a couple £100, maybe even more expensive per side. So these are what the customer saw and said they look all right. So we've put them on. They don't look too bad. I'm not a big fan of them not being completely sealed up as they are, but it's got the desired effect. Obviously, we need to just see how they last and make sure they don't do any weird discoloration or start dropping to bits, but can't imagine it anyway. So literally the second piece of the exhaust that we've made, which we'll put some pictures of while that we're on ramp, so like I say, I weren't here when it was getting done, and trying to video Dan making an exhaust, like trying to video a bear scratching its back in woods. We know it happens, but we can't really capture it on film sometimes. So this is all it's replaced. Looks like it's an unfinished exhaust. I've got that silly tip, which we saw that when we were underneath it before. And obviously what we've replaced it with is quite elaborate. So we've just crunched some numbers on this, and I'm not usually one to do the hard sell on these sort of things, but it's about £700 if you have a silencer in. If you don't have a silencer, it's about £600, which, if you're getting rid of all the DPF and all these components, then you don't really need a silencer, in my opinion. It'll give you a little bit more noise, which we can try if we've got chance to take the silencer out and then put the DPF back in and stuff. Whether we can get round to that on this project or not, I'm not too sure. But if you're getting rid of the DPF, then you'd almost certainly want to put a silencer in there. I've not even driven this yet to see how noisy it is, but we'll have a little drive off in a second, see what it sounds like. And just one bit of clarification, I don't think this has got much inside. I'd have to chop it out and have a look. Maybe it's just got a secondary sleeve around it, but apparently I were wrong before, and this is the secondary cap. Whether we clarify that while I'm talking rubbish earlier, or just wait until I clarify it now. But anyway, all this is what we've took off. There'll be some nice pictures of what we've put on. Let's go for a little run and see what it sounds like.